Welcome to the Founders Focus podcast, an open conversation with TechCore founder Gary Beach and those who care about the future of technology. For 30 years, TechCore has worked to close the opportunity gap in technology by delivering high-quality, career-connected programs to K-12 students and educators. Founders Focus invites you along for the journey as we examine technology and how it impacts the way we work and live.
Welcome to Season 4 of the Founders Focus podcast. 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of TechCore, and we're thrilled to celebrate this monumental milestone by kicking off Season 4 with Episode 1, Inspired to Innovate, the TechCore Origin Story. In this episode, you'll hear directly from TechCore founder Gary Beach as he shares every detail about how the nonprofit began. Join us as TechCore alumni Marjorie Mendez interviews Gary, uncovering the inspiring story that led to the organization's creation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this trip down memory lane.
Well, I was going to ask you, what was your journey when you first, started up TechCore? Because I never thought to look at, what's the history of TechCore? It was just something that was there. And
you want to know the real story?
Yes.
You haven't heard it?
No, nobody's told me. I don't know.
Okay.
I need it from the source.
So I was publisher of a technology newspaper. It was called Computer World. It has since gone out of business in paper. It's still online. And once a year at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., we would invite 1,000 people and we'd give out awards to men and women who had done great things in leveraging technology into the workplace, into social lives and what have you. It was a wonderful program. And my daughter at the time, this is 1994, she was 12 years old. And one of the gifts I wanted to give both my kids, our kids, is the confidence in public speaking. And the jobs I had, I did a lot of that. So what I did that year was I brought her down with me to Washington. We went down on a Friday and we toured the city. We went over to Arlington to see President Kennedy's grave. And it was a wonderful weekend. So the event happens on a Monday night. And there's 1,000 people in black tie and black gown in the audience. And as publisher, I was the host. So I got up and I welcomed everybody. Then we would always hired someone to be the MC. Then I would come at the end of the program and thank everybody and go home. And so I come up behind the curtain and the woman running the event, the executive producer, comes up to me and she goes, "Gary, we have a problem." And her name was Brenda, like Brenda here on the phone. And I said, "Brenda, okay, what's the problem?" And so there were two teleprompters on the stage. And she goes, "When you get halfway through your closing remarks of 4 minutes, there's going to be big caps improvise there, because at that point in the closing comments, I was going to lead a champagne toast to the 1,000 people in the audience. But I guess we bought cheap champagne because the waiters couldn't open up the bottles fast enough. So the producer needed me to extend my remarks 2 minutes. And I'm sitting there in a chair and I'm going, okay, what am I going to say? And then all of a sudden, voice of God says, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage." And then say Gary Beach, right?
Yeah.
I go to the podium and I still really didn't know what I was going to say. But I had done some work for the 2 prior years in leveraging challenging IT professionals to go into schools, because back then the internet was known as the information superhighway. It was very, very early on. And so I get to the extension and I look out into the audience and I said, just like John Kennedy, President Kennedy started the Peace Corps, challenging men and women to go into developing countries, to help those countries join the global economy. What if we here in this room, and many of the people were CEOs of companies, what if we challenge IT professionals to start a thing called TechCore? Rather than Peace Corps, we'll call it TechCore. And we'll challenge IT professionals to go in to public schools at that time was a focus on technology and computer science. And so it filled up the 2 minutes. It was not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So an hour later, I'm online leaving the event. And this gentleman behind me taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "What's TechCore?" And I looked at him and go, "I don't know. I just made it up."
Oh
So what he said, it gets better. And he goes into his jacket pocket. He hands me his card and he goes, "What's your social security number?" And I'm going, it's speed dating here, right? I looked at his card. It said Executive Office of the President of the United States. Yeah, that's what I did. I go, "Whoa." And he goes, "I want to see you tomorrow morning at 9:00 at the White House." I go, "Okay." He goes, "All right, what's your social security number?" I gave it to him. And the next morning I show up the Southwest Gate and the Secret Service people have my name on the list. They told me to go on the second floor. And I did. And we discussed how we're going to start this organization called TechCore. And what they wanted to go slower. And I said, "Okay, we'll go slower." But what I did, rather than ask for permission, I asked for forgiveness. When I got back to the office, I was so excited about going to the White House. I sent a note out I had a listserv of names, and I explained to these people, I'm coming up with this idea for TechCore, and explain what the idea was. What do you think? Well, one of the people on the listserv sent it out to a global listserv. And all of a sudden, all I was doing was running to my copy machine because people were sending back, "Oh, great idea. Let's do it. And so 10 months after that, in the Oval Office, it was really the Roosevelt Room right next to the Oval Office, with President Clinton and Vice President Gore on either side of me, we launched TechCore as a nonprofit. And the rest, because of incredible people like you, is history. I hope and I know you will have something in your career that you are so proud of that 40 years from now you'll look back at it and say, I did this. Maybe I invented the next cool thing with generative AI. Mm-hmm. And to me, that it was the idea, I guess, was always in my head. I just needed the opportunity to have it come out. And here we are celebrating our lives like yours, and 30 years of doing this. Tens of thousands of young people have, as we said in the opening, have had their lives positively impacted by TechCore. That's something that I wish you have the same experience in your career.
Now you know how TechCore started. We look forward to sharing a great lineup of 30th anniversary podcasts on the Founders Focus.